Welcome into the Digital Dispatch podcast sponsored by Freight School Playbook. I am your host, Blythe Brumleve, and on today's episode, I want to highlight a company that has been doing the right thing for a very long time. This trucking company based just outside of Dallas, Texas, has nearly a perfect review rating on Google and Facebook when it comes to their drivers, something that's nearly unheard of in this industry, at least in my experience. The company I'm talking about is BCB Transport, whose owner and CEO, Rick Larkin, has become successful in the industry by simply treating people the way they should be treated, doing it consistently, and because of that good reputation and excellent word of mouth, it helps recruit and retain not only drivers, but their in-house employees too. I had the pleasure of talking not only to Rick, but someone who has inspired him to be a better person, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Richey. Mr. Richey is 90 years old, still plays softball, helped in the construction of the Panama Canal, a film writer, MIT grad, and seriously one of the more inspiring people that you'll ever hear from, as well as how sports, in his own words, has helped keep him alive even after a bad heart attack. This conversation also includes his son, affectionately referred to as K-Boy, and lifelong friend John Hearn. The group gushes about how much Mr. Richey and his passion for life has meant to all of them, the importance sports placed on them meeting to begin with, and how it bonded them all together continuously through the decades. Just listen to how Rick talks about where the idea for the interview came from.
You know, I was excited to have him here. That what an inspiration he was for us. But I remember when I called you up on it. I don't know if you could hear it, but the excitement, the admiration, the adoration, I guess I had for Mr. Richey for watching him out there with all of us playing softball and running. I mean, he went from first to second. He scored a run. He pinched run for Johnny over here, and the whole thing was absolutely amazing. It was, you know, for me to see Mr. Richey, who's just literally, when you see him, he is so full of joy, excitement from probably 4 years ago out there dancing at the reunion we had, and just a ball of joy. And for us youngsters, and I like to say I'm still young, Blythe. I know I look like I'm in my 30s, but I'm pushing 51, believe it or not. I know it's a shocker to you.
Well, I can't see you. All I can see are the letters. So by the letters and by the sound of your voice, yes.
31-year-old, I think. So let's go with that.
Now, before I start playing the actual interview, one more quick thing to keep in mind. While we were having this chat, it was being broadcasted live to BCB's team of drivers on their new 24-hour radio program. It's a mix of music, safety updates, company news, interviews, and more, which the player for that can be found at bcb-live.com in case you wanted to see a sample of it. It's also a great example of using the content your company is already creating and putting it in a different format. This is a great example of a company going the extra mile to give their drivers a little bit of a stress break along with a positive story. Because I really believe that if you want to be better in both business and life, you have to set the example and constantly be looking for those who are doing the same positive things in life. So let's not delay any further. Hope you guys all enjoy this chat. All right, we're here today with BCB Transport crew along with their special guest to talk about the importance of sports and the role that they play in our livelihoods and overall mental well-being. Now, BCB is located just outside of Dallas, Texas. Rick Larkin is the company's owner and CEO. We're also joined by a gentleman affectionately referred to as Mr. Richey, his son Kay, and longtime friend Johnny Hearn. So, gentlemen, what brings you to the great state of Texas today?
To see the World Series and hope that the Rays will win.
So awesome. So it's, I guess for those who don't know or those who aren't aware, can you guys sort of break down the relationship between all of you and what brings you guys together? Rick, you in particular, how did you get acquainted with this group?
So when I was younger, my dad was in the military. I had gone to Panama Canal. So when I got to Panama Canal, just fast forward real quick, these folks were legends in the Panama Canal. They were the folks that you just wanted to get to know. They grew up in Panama, though. They lived there their whole lives. I was just there from my summer of 9th grade to my first year of college when I completed that. They spent a lifetime in there. And you know, honestly, I feel honored to be part of their life and out of that country where you know, we got to experience things that here in the States you wouldn't experience, you know, and thankfully, you know, those guys, they're all considered Zonians. I'm just like a wannabe knocking on the door like, hey, let me be one of you. That's how I got to know all those guys. You know, John Hearn, he was the big baseball star. He was the big athlete down there. So, you know, and I was joking around with somebody saying, I remember when Johnny first said my name, I was like, holy man, he knows my name. wanted to borrow money,
And so now you mentioned baseball. We've talked about baseball a couple times already. Is that how you guys all really started to gel together, is by playing baseball together?
You know what? It was baseball. It was softball. It was life. Because even then, we played a lot of softball together. I told you we went to Tampa last weekend, and that was to get together a reunion of the Wilkie Warriors of our softball team back in the day. And that's when we all got to play again. So we played. I guess what brought us all together was sports.
That's
Sports
awesome.
really did bring us all together, all sorts of ages. Kay was a little bit older. Kay was the older guy that was stealing all of our girlfriends. He's the only one that had a job. We couldn't compete with him.
So can you give us a little bit of an age range of how old you guys were when you first all met together? Sort of paint that picture for us.
K-boy goes not important, But
age isn't important, no.
When we really started to kind of, get to know each other, it was probably my senior year for sure in high school. So, Johnny was Johnny was playing baseball for the Braves, I think, during that when, on the minor league side when I met him. K-boy, again, he was the guy that had the job. He had the Jeep. He had the boat. Yeah. So you quickly got to know K-boy. K-boy is a few years older than I was. So let's call K-boy 4 years older than me.
That's being generous.
So I guess you guys could say that you probably have a good story or two to tell everybody about your baseball and softball playing days.
Right. The thing is that as we grew up in the Canal Zone, and this is K-boy talking, as we grew up in the Canal Zone was dwindling and getting fewer and fewer people. So it didn't matter how old you were, if you had an interest in sports and going boating and all that, we just hung out together. So the age difference was not a big deal.
Now, what do you think outside of sports? Do you guys think that you connected on a different level, or do you really believe that it was baseball and it was softball that brought you guys together?
I think originally it was the sports that got us together. After that, so even from this past weekend, when my wife and I were coming back home, it's just that they're all good people. And it doesn't mean any of us are perfect, but you know what? There's not a group of better hearts than these folks that we all hang out together or talk still. There's not a better group of people with the right heart for doing the right thing. And that's what I like. And I think it's emotionally attached to all of us, and not just us, but to them and their other friends. And it's a big group of people, but there's an emotional touch there that said, if I needed something, I know I could call anybody from there and it would get done. So they would take care of my family and treat it the same. No questions asked. And I think it goes that way with everybody. That bond was so strong because you did everything together, everything.
Now, you guys mentioned earlier about being in town for the Rays, the World Series going on right now. Now, Mr. Richey, how did you become a Rays fan? Because as a Jaguars fan in the state of Florida, I have to explain to people all the time about how I became a Jaguars fan. I imagine you probably get the same question a lot too. So how did you become a Rays and a Bucks fan?
Well, I was still in Panama when my oldest son was doing his residency in Tampa. So we visited there, and so we got, and his wife was working for a travel agency whose owner was the owner of the Yankees. And so we decided we'd be Rays fans so we could beat the Yankees.
And I believe I heard that you went to one of the Yankees World Series games. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that was in 1960. Exactly 60 years from today.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So then you're going to be appearing at another World Series game exactly, 60 years later. That's incredible.
I grew up in West Virginia, and we're about 50 miles from Pittsburgh. So we were able to go to that first game of the World Series in 1960. And our seats were out on the first base. And so when we were there, they were warming up, and Roberto Clemente was throwing the ball from the fence to the plate. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Was a great experience. And of course, the Pirates won that World Series with a home run. Man, it was great.
Would you say that that's your favorite sports memory, or do you have another one that comes to mind?
I would say that's pretty much the same. It was because I was with a favorite uncle. and other people from my hometown.
Okay, so Kay, I wanted to go to you for a second. Now, obviously, you probably have a lot of fond sports memories with your dad, but can you pinpoint a favorite?
Well, this wouldn't be my favorite, but it was fun about John Hearn here. The thing is that they had a league going there, but some of the players were from Panama, and they didn't get off work. So one day the guy hadn't arrived, the second baseman hadn't arrived, so they put me on second base, and John was playing left field, and there was a ball went out there to him, and it bounced, and he threw it at me, and I was getting ready, and I was saying to myself, well, I suppose I would get bam, and there it was. Whoa! So this was. Then I knew I was in the big leagues.
But it's good. You guys stayed friends after that, clearly.
And that's what he did. He returned the favor last Sunday when they put me in to run for him. He was the manager of the team, so he was able to do whatever he wanted. So he put me in to run for him. And fortunately, we had some very good hitters behind me, so I could advance to second and to third and actually to home to make a run. So that's my record in that league. Runs, 1.
Awesome. Then you can just retire and just go out on top, right?
That's right. Quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, I don't see him retiring anytime soon. He's 90 years old. He still plays in a Florida softball league in Venice. He plays 3 times a week, which is a lot more than you can say about me.
A lot more than you could say about a lot of us, I think, especially in this heat.
As a matter of fact, I'll tell this little story. I play soccer, and I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I was thinking about getting a new pair of soccer cleats. I'm 58 years old, and I thought, well, I don't, investing in a new pair of soccer cleats, that's, not
quite ambitious.
Yeah, it's quite ambitious. So I was at my dad's house a few months ago, and I saw a brand new glove. And I said, Dad, whose glove is this? And he said, it's mine. I'm going to start breaking it in so I can use it in a couple of years. So there's inspiration there.
Hope springs eternal.
Oh, that's great. That actually leads me to sort of one of my next questions, is that a lot of people aren't feeling the best right now. They're a little scared to go out, sort of, enjoy, live life. What advice would you give to other people who are scared to go out and enjoy life right now?
Oh, that's a tough one, because 3 of my children are MDs, and they say, take it easy.
K-Boy is not.
Yeah.
K-Boy is not one of the doctors.
Yeah, that's why K-Boy hangs out with us. None of us are MDs.
Yeah. So they're telling me stay home, but they're not complaining when I go play softball, because that's what keeps me alive.
And also, they didn't complain when Richey offered up some tickets to go to the World Series. So he jumped in the car with me, and we drove from Venice, Florida through Alabama. We stopped to see my son. We took about 4 days to get over here. And, being on the road and just seeing the country, especially going through these back roads, is just incredible, because there's so much out there. You can stay home if you want, but get out there and see the world.
Absolutely. What was the very well said? What was the best thing that you saw on the road?
We saw cotton fields, Dad.
The cotton field, right? That's something.
The boll weevil.
We saw the boll weevil.
And in Enterprise, Alabama, there's a statue to the boll weaver, because the boll weevil wrecked the cotton, and they had to do something else, and that something else was peanuts. And so they became wealthy. The town became wealthy by growing peanuts. And
that's
actually,
awesome.
It was George Washington Carver, who suggested the peanuts and risked planting peanuts, and they grew like they were at home.
Oh, that's a great story to tell. For you, Rick, going back to you, you mentioned and sort of talking about Mr. Richey's passion for life. Can you elaborate on a moment that made you light up because of Mr. Richey?
Yeah, I'll just go to this weekend right here, and maybe I'll go back to the reunion. What was that, 5 years ago, maybe, when we had the reunion to see Mr. Richey. And this is late, and I get up early to go to work, and Mr. Richey's, he's up later than I was at this reunion. He's out there dancing, and he's dancing, and I don't get out there unless I've had a couple of drinks, and Mr. Richey's just dancing and just full of life, and there's people just lined up to dance with. But this weekend, I'm telling you, to see Mr. Richey stretching out in the outfield, running out, like warming up. I mean, I couldn't even warm up. I thought about it, and I saw him out there like, how's he doing that? I can't even do that without getting worn out. But he was out there, and he's just, I mean, when you see him, he really is. He's an inspiration just by who he is. I mean, I wish you could have heard some of the stories afterwards, Mr. Richey, with all of us. Johnny?
Yeah, I'd love to share a story about Mr. Richey with, I still play a lot of ball, and I play a senior pro-am league that has some pretty talented guys and a lot of big names that if you're a baseball fan, Canseco, Dante Bichette, a lot of big name ball players that I play with on once a month, I'm sorry. And I was playing a tournament in Venice. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. And I was playing left field, and I kept hearing someone call my name. And I kept looking over, and I didn't recognize, at first I kept looking over. Then all of a sudden it dawned on me that it was Mr. Richey. And I hadn't seen him in probably 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. So he came over, and I went up and sat with him in the bleachers, and we started talking. And, I said, Mr. Richey, what are you doing out here? Do you come out here often? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm out here. And I said, oh, what, you come out watch the games? He said, oh, no, I play. And I said, you're in this tournament? Because this tournament has got guys that have played at a very high level. And he said, yeah, I play. I play in the 70 and over league. And I was kind of shocked. I didn't, even though I was playing in the senior league, I didn't realize that there was 70 and over. So I said, I was kind of asking him about it, and he said, well, it's kind of funny because of our age and how we get around out there. He says, in our league, they call us the rollers. Of course, that's not something I'd heard about a ball player before. So I said, well, Mr. Richey, what's a roller? He said, well, none of us can throw overhand anymore, so we have to roll it in from the outfield.
That's a great story, but also a great adaptation for still getting out there and playing sports.
That's exactly my point, is that, when I was there that day, and then, now we're probably 4 or 5 years later, and, during our tournament this weekend with a bunch of guys that hadn't played in 20 years, 25 years, and I had a chance to get Mr. Richey in the game. It was, and to watch the other team shake his hand as he went from base to base, and everybody just really acknowledging that, a lot of us complain about things, and I'm hurting here, I'm hurting there, and here's 90 years old, and he's out there running the bases, and he is running the bases. It's not a wobble or a slow trot. It is a run to the bases. So it's quite impressive, and we got some good video of it if you ever want to see it.
Absolutely. I think everybody would love to see it. And sort of, I guess, segueing to that part. Now, for those who can't see us live right now, we're actually joined by several of the BCB drivers on the new BCB Live platform. You guys have a dedicated studio within the BCB offices. Rick, can you tell us a little bit about what is BCB Live, your radio component? Tell us a little bit about what it is all about, and why do you think it's important?
Yeah, so it was about 2 years ago that we really made a decision that we've got to find a better platform to talk to our drivers. It's so easy to send emails and to do these things, but when it came to safety, when it came to protecting life, and Blythe, that when we talk safety at BCB, it's about one thing: it's about protecting life. That's what our drivers do out there on the road. Today, we're at 174 days of accident-free, DOT accident. Blythe, so we run 700,000 miles a week. And just think, I mean, it's absolutely amazing what our drivers do, and the platform we've talked about. For us, we share videos of things that we need to work on. We share videos of things that we've done very well at. When it comes to, and it kind of goes to a sports things, we talk to our drivers, and, they hold a CDL. They really are in the association. They're the best of the best. And if they're the best of the best, Blythe, what we believe is they also have to look at film. You talk about Brady. Well, Brady doesn't just go out there and throw the ball. He looks at him and reviews tape. We do the exact same thing. We look at our close calls. We look at the deer strikes. We look at running red lights, things that we did. And we say, okay, what should we do to not, how do we see these things before they happen? How do we recognize what's going on so we can be a safer driver and get not only ourselves, our drivers back home safe, but to be safe on the road and allow others, the people driving the vehicles, to get back home to their family as well.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I think that you guys, we said this before the show started, that you guys are really at the forefront of getting that kind of message out there to your drivers. And so it's really great to see it all sort of come to life, especially in a setting like this. And so I'll leave with one more final question. Why do you think that, as far as like in business and in life, why do you think the message and the perspective of a guy like Mr. Richey helps you in your business?
So Friday, when we started the show, I kind of went a different way with it, and it became with stress. We're so focused when we're in our truck. We're so focused at work, and that's not just us as drivers. That's us in general. That's how we are. We're so focused and we're so tensed up. When we get out of the truck, we've got to learn to relax. And when I saw Mr. Richey, and when I called you up on it, it gave me that idea I needed to start talking to our drivers, because we're coming on, people call it Christmas and Thanksgiving, some of the greatest days. But let me tell you, it's also some of the most stressful times. It's about getting home to your family, about missing out or having to leave out of the house early so you don't spend that Thanksgiving day with your family, or Christmas. There's more traffic. The weather begins to turn as well. So what happens in our industry, and especially with our truck drivers, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, but it's a stressful time. Our focus for the month of November is going to be this. When you're out of the truck, learn to love your wife, your husband, your kids. Spend that time with them. Get out of the truck and get your mind away from it. When I saw Mr. Richey, I tell you, it really did. It made me really think about this for November for our company. Was look at him living life. Look at the way that he's given it all he has, and it's not just for himself. It's the joy that he spreads on to everybody else. When you see him, it's infectious, and that's what we talked about today. And I've got some guys on here, some of our drivers listening, and we talked about that today. How we all have that same ability. We've got that same, whether it's opening up a door for somebody, whether it's somebody on the corner, you're giving them some money, whatever that is, we have that same ability to do what Mr. Richey did for us this weekend, and that was to be an inspiration.
Absolutely well said. Mic drop on that point. So I guess I'll just end it with this. Does anybody else have any really good stories to share about Mr. Richey or just playing sports in general?
What I did want to bring up a couple of things. One was in the past, I used to drive across the states a lot, especially Texas to Florida, to go see my dad and mom. And I used to complain a lot about the trucks being on the road. And like a lot of people were just like, oh, there's so many damn trucks. Once this COVID hit, and we realized that the guys who were bringing us food and supplies are the guys in the trucks driving across the states. And it gives us a whole new perspective on the sacrifice these guys make. And I really appreciate that.
Very well said.
Can I say one more word?
Absolutely. You have the floor.
Well, I really began to enjoy playing softball after I had a heart attack in 1993, and they took them 4 jolts to get me back to life. So I'd already been gone and were brought back. So it's been a gift these 27 years to play softball. Yes, I enjoy it every minute. It's what keeps me alive.
That's well said. Well said. I wish we could have started with that story. What a great story! Because especially from a sports perspective, that's usually when people stop playing. Stop playing their respective sport, and especially during a time like this. So I really appreciate you guys sharing those stories. I think everybody is going to find a lot of hope and relatability with those stories. We've all been suffering extended amounts of stress during some more so than others, but now as things start to open back up and people start going back out there and living their lives, I think that you guys have a really important inspirational story that to encourage others to maybe not be so scared and to get back out there, because otherwise there's really not much worth doing if you're not going to get out there and enjoy life.
Thank you, Blythe.
So thank you guys so much. And I guess that will end it for us right now, unless you guys have any closing statements.
No, the rest of the statements, the stories will come after a couple drinks, Blythe. So we'll better end it right here. Hey, thank you so much for doing this. I do appreciate you, and thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Likewise, right back at you, and all of the drivers that are listening as well. Thank you guys for everything that you do. Well, there you have it. The good news story that will hopefully inspire you a bit to get after life and keep living it. Now, to follow along with BCB Transport's journey, visit the website at bcbtransport.com. Don't forget to also check out their live radio programming available at bcb-live.com. And to hear and watch more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to the Digital Dispatch podcast and YouTube channel, where we share stories about how stuff and people get from point A to point B. Hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. And until next time, my name is Blythe Brumleve, and I will see you real soon.